Welcome back to USA Hockey Arena. Pete Krupsky with Sean Belisian reporting a 1-1 game between the NTDP U18s and Youngstown after one period of play. My guest is Scott Monaghan, the Senior Director of Operations for the National Team Development Program. He's an original member of the franchise, and this is our 20th anniversary of the franchise. And Scott, we could go a lot of different ways, but I know at the time when the NTDP was formed, it was considered kind of an off-the-wall, crazy idea, not the traditional thinking in hockey. But just take me back to the thinking. What was the thinking of USA Hockey back then to start the NTDP?
Well, the objective was to get our best players and get them in an environment where we could push them to get better at a younger age. In North America, it was truly kind of a off-the-wall idea to a lot of people, but it was a little bit of a hybrid of what we had always seen in Europe, which is that they have very strong national programs that bring players together 5, 6, 7 times a year for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks for camps or competition. And we kind of took it to the next level. Jeff Jackson and Bob Mancini are two folks that really founded and developed the on-ice program here and said, hey, what if we had them together for 10 months? What if we could work with them nonstop? What if we could put them in an environment where they were playing against older, stronger guys?
So it started in 1997. That was the first team. So you have this team, and if you're an expansion team in, say, the National Hockey League like Las Vegas is, you already have a built-in schedule. How did the NTDP schedule teams? I mean, did you just announce, here we are, brand new team, come and take us on? How did that all work?
Well, that first year we were strictly putting everything together, finding players, figuring out what our office space and weight room and all those kind of things were going to be like. And Jeff Jackson worked pretty tirelessly building a schedule. He had a pretty good concept in mind. As you know, our first couple of years we actually played CHL teams with our older team. And what he did was built out a schedule with the USHL, the North American Hockey League, and the CHL. So the younger team at that time played the North American Hockey League. The older team played USHL and CHL. And always from the beginning we had international events, 2 or 3 a year. The very first year there was no under-18 World Championship. So we just went over to Europe at the end of the year and barnstormed and played Sweden, which at the time had a couple of 17-year-olds named Daniel and Henrik Sedin, and Finland. And that was a great end to the year. And then the next year the World Championship started.
I'm just looking at all the head coaches that have worked here, and really there haven't been that many over 20 years, but what a roster. Danton Cole, Mike Eves, Don Granato, John Hines, Jeff Jackson, Kirk Kleinendorst, Mo Mantha, David Quinn, Ron Ralston, and our current U18 head coach, John Wroblewski. What an outstanding lineup of quality of coaches, quality of men.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to get great guys. Both younger, like John is, that are just a few years into their head coaching career, and more veteran, like a Mike Eves or Jeff Jackson was. And all those guys have contributed. And, you know, as much as it's a development program for the players, it's a development program for the coaches, and it's really a laboratory for coaching. We've got, you know, 2 different coaching staffs, guys coming from a variety of backgrounds, and they're all bringing something to the table with each other.
Isn't it kind of special? You've been around long enough where players go on and move on to college hockey, maybe play pro, and then turn to coaching. And a guy like John Wroblewski comes back here, and that speaks volumes of the quality of the program when you can graduate guys and then they come back and represent the company or the franchise really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great to have John back. He brings back a perspective both as an original player here and knowing what the guys that we call the pioneers from those first couple of years went through. He also brings back experience, having gone through it as an intern coach and then an assistant coach. And he's coached at the pro level. He's coached at the American Hockey League level, the East Coast League level, and he's got that strong background there too.
I want to get into the players momentarily, but again, I want to review for all our fans out there that are still new to the National Team Development Program. These are the best players in the country. that are 16 and 17 years old. They don't play for a Stanley Cup. They don't play for a championship at the end of the year. The model of the NTDP is you play for 2 years, and really you don't play for Stanley or Stanley Cup. You really play for gold in terms of international competition. That seems to be the end game here. Is that right?
Yeah, our objective here is to teach them to have a lot of pride on the international stage, to represent the United States with passion and help it win events. And we've had great success at the Under-18 World Championship. It's a hard tournament to win. Out of all of them, it's one of the ones that tends to have almost all the best players. They're all going into the draft, so they play with incredible passion at that event. But the other international events are important too, like the one we'll see here in November. Those are great times for these teams to kind of tweak and firm themselves up, and you see some real classic games in those.
And again, we'll have the Five Nations tournament coming up in November, and again, you want to meet anybody that's in the hockey business, they are here. We've seen it firsthand. We saw it here in August during the National Junior Evaluation Camp. Over the course of a week, there might have been 300 different NHL people here, including the Red Wings, including Steve Yzerman, including anybody you want to see in hockey. They are here. That's one of the unique things about this program or this organization, the way that the international scene comes here. There's no other place in Detroit that has this, I think.
Yeah, we're really proud to be in Plymouth and the Northville Canton area and be in the heart of Detroit hockey now. And for us, it's about bringing folks out, getting them to understand the product here, the different events we're going to host here, and really become part of the history of the program along with those that have been here and are here now.
So now we get to players, and the first NTDP players taken in the draft was 1999, but I want to start by focusing on some of the players that maybe our fans saw last year. A banner year for the NTDP U18s and the NTDP as a whole in the NHL draft, and guys like Clayton Keller going in the first round, guys like Kiefer Bellows going in the first round. There has to be a lot of pride coming from you when you see that happen as an original member of the franchise.
Yeah, we're always proud of the guys that go in the first round, but we, as we say, it's not where you get drafted, it's whether you make it at the end. And, if a guy goes in the first round, he's got a real good chance to play in the NHL. We've had some great players that have been drafted in the later rounds that have come through too. So we're happy with all of them. And for me personally, it's also about the guys that don't make it and how they do in their lives. And we're really proud of guys like Troy Ferguson up in East Lansing, who's a premier doctor working on orthopedic issues, and folks like Pat Offiero, who's a lawyer back in Boston. All those kind of, all of our alums are proud of, and we want to see them succeed.
And, we know all about Dylan Larkin and Patrick Kane and guys like that, but when I think of NTD players that have been a success, I think of a guy like Patrick Eves, who was taken, I believe, in the first round by Ottawa, but really, over the course of his career, he's been a pretty honest, grinding type hockey player. And I remember him stopping a slap shot in the face. He had to sit out basically for a whole year. And the reason I admire Patrick Eves so much, he would come here to the rink. It was known as Compu Arena then, work all by himself with a power skating instructor by the name of Kim Muir. Wasn't allowed to practice with the Red Wings or anybody. He had to do all his work on his own. He did it for a whole year. He did it without complaining. He did it bringing his Newfoundland dog, Rufus. That was always a treat. But the thing is, he was an honest grinder, and he really worked his way back into what's been a pretty good career. I love stories like that. Yeah,
Patrick's a wonderful kid. He was a captain on our first under-18 and under-20 gold medal teams for the country. And he's been a lot of fun to be around again. Being up here, even though we're only 20 miles away from Ann Arbor, we seem to be closer to a lot of guys that we knew that came through the program that live up this way.
The history of the NTDP is just filled with great stories, a great history of excellent players. We've got about 30 seconds left in the segment. What would you want to tell people about the history of the NTDP, if you can summarize it?
Well, it's been a lot of fun to go through it for 20 years and to see it build and grow become a program that's now playing in a premier facility. We're really happy to have half our kids up in Plymouth, Northville, and Canton, and Novi now. We're looking forward to the rest of them getting up here in the community next year. And we hope the communities get behind it, come out and support it, and have a great time.
Scott Monaghan, the Senior Director of Operations for the National Team Development Program. Young man that works hard every day. You talk about Patrick Eve working hard, so does Scott. A pleasure to work with and work for. Scott, we'll keep bringing you up here. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Pete.